do not think that someone is just going to show up and help you with your problems. You've got to roll your sleeves up, get dirty, and put the work in. Otherwise, you'll just be the person 5 years from now who said, I had that idea.
Welcome to another episode of the Wichita Live podcast. My name is Landon. Today's guest is Steven Werner. Steven is the founder and CEO of Lawn Buddy, which has been called the Uber for lawn care. Lawn Buddy is not only one of the hottest startups in Wichita, but one of the hottest startup companies in the world. We talk about Steven's background, his path from the Marines to starting his own companies, and much more. Please enjoy my conversation with Steven Werner. All right, I'm here with Steven Werner. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty well. Can you just tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in a small town in Wyoming, a place called Kemmer, Wyoming. We have no stoplights, stop signs only. Have one itty-bitty movie theater, and the biggest claim to fame was JCPenney's had started there.
That's pretty big. That's impressive.
Right? Nobody knows that,
Yeah.
but it's there. So grew up in a small ranch outside of town. So I wasn't even a citizen of Kemmer, Wyoming. I was in a county. But grew up there, went to high school there, enlisted in the Marine Corps my junior year in high school, and then shipped off for boot camp right after I graduated. So no real time to have fun or be young.
Straight to
went
business.
straight to business, but it was a good time. Was in the military for several years, bounced around all over the place, did a combat deployment to Afghanistan and back. After the military was done, I'd say 2013, I got out and was very fortunate in the fact that I got a job doing structural project management for a firm at a mine there, where I kind of cut my teeth on management, capital projects, all the stuff you're familiar with.
Yeah, sure.
So when I was there, I met my beautiful wife, who's an electrical engineer. Sparks did fly. Nothing caught on fire, though. So that's something to be said for a Sparky. So after that, we decided to kind of broaden our horizons. We both put applications in other places. Coke Industries swooped in and snagged her up real quick. I think with 2 weeks is when she got the job offer. They offered it to her on the spot, which I guess doesn't really happen.
No, it doesn't. I've been through that process. It can be grueling.
Yeah.
So,
so anyways, we moved out to Wichita, Kansas, and I thought, I'm just gonna go and use all my experience and my veteran background, and I'll get a job doing exactly what I was doing before. Wichita had other plans, thankfully, and I couldn't find anything. Ended up working armed security at Spirit for a number of months, and realized that wasn't very fun, being a glorified gate guard, especially working night shift. So decided to jump back into school. If the piece of paper was that important, I'd go and get it.
Sure.
We talked a little bit briefly before this. I was interested in pursuing a structural engineering degree, but WSU only offered a mechanical engineering degree, and thermo is not fun.
No, not fun at all.
Yep, you can take that. And so decided to go into entrepreneurship. I'd always wanted to start business. I've started several smaller businesses before that, kind of one-off deals, and decided to pursue that. Lasted 2 semesters before Lawn Buddy started, and we're sitting here today. So
Awesome. So just backing up just a little bit. So you joined the Marines. Did
Correct.
you always want to join the services, or was that something you just picked up in high school?
So since my freshman year in high school, I had wanted to join the military.
Cool.
Did a lot of research. The only recruiters that would call me back and even entertain a conversation with the freshman at that time was the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And researched into that, find out that they were the best and the brightest, even though everyone else will disagree with us. But we have the best education, so we know what we're talking about. And enlisted my junior year in high school. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I was going to ask why the Marines, but there we are.
Yep.
So
So
cool.
it was the longest, most challenging boot camp that I could find, and you were a rifleman first, and your job came second, and that really kind of appealed to me and decided to focus on that.
Nice. Very cool. Well, thank you for your service, by the way. That's awesome.
No worries.
That's really cool. And so you mentioned you started a couple smaller businesses or one-off. What kind of stuff was that here in Wichita or back home in Wyoming?
Both.
Okay.
So right before Sonia, my wife and I moved here, we were getting ready to open up it was called, looking back is always kind of what was I thinking, but it was called S&S Tactical Solutions that we were opening up in Wyoming to where we were filing for FFL and then do firearms training, stuff like that. Not a lot of people know about that, but when we moved back here, we decided to dissolve that company. And Thunderbird had just opened when we were here, and then all the different ranges and training facilities.
A couple different places around town.
The market was kind of diluted for something like that. Ended up working for one of them for a while, but then when I was going to Wichita State, I had opened up a brass reselling business around picking up once fired range brass, recycling it, and selling it to reloaders, which was kind of more of a time filler for me really than a business venture. There was one other one, and I can't remember what it was. That's how interesting it was.
Right.
But kind of went through the process of starting an LLC on all of them.
Sure.
Going through the kind of filing your articles and going through a lot of that basic stuff early on. And then obviously when I was in at Wichita State for entrepreneurship, you learn about a lot of that. So I had a little bit of an advantage there, but nothing too huge, nothing like what we're doing today.
There's definitely a difference, though, between just studying it and then going through it yourself and actually doing it. So you planted the seeds for what could now have been Lawn Buddy then. Yep. So can you talk a little bit about Lawn Buddy and what that is?
Yeah, so Lawn Buddy started really in 2015. We were doing customer validation around that. Everyone thinks that I'm making up a story when I say this, but it was really started from me wanting a better solution for someone to cut the grass. I was working full-time at that point, studying full-time, going to Wichita State, and grass grows really fast here in Kansas.
Especially in the spring when it's raining all the time.
Yeah, exactly like today. So I had a lot on my plate, and when I got home, the grass was overgrown, and I was just learning what honey-do lists were, and my wife had kindly reminded me several times throughout that week to cut the grass.
Yep.
And I could hear a voice in my head and said, there needs to be a solution for this, just for someone to come out and mow at one time, not worry about the neighbor kid getting hurt. And there wasn't at that time, and so when my wife got home, we sat down and we created a business model around it. I didn't cut the grass, but we created a business. Yeah. My wife came on originally to help build everything with us. We entered into several competitions and built it from there. I met my technical co-founder and business partner, Phil Matthew, who helped us kind of bring this to reality. And we launched in I guess it was the winter of 2016 with the Lawn Buddy On Demand mobile app. Okay. We did snow removal at first, of all things. Yeah. And I firmly believe that us releasing that technology is why it didn't snow in Wichita for so long. So, but that next spring we had the on-demand technology. We launched it in Wichita. Grew outside of Wichita and several other places. But then, and at the end of it, you'll appreciate this. There were some things that weren't necessarily working. Yeah. And so I sat down to do a root cause analysis to find out, what is causing this to happen? And one of the results that came from that was that realizing that the men and women who were actually mowing the grass loved it because they had no access to this type of technology, and they could get paid within 24 to 48 hours, which is unheard of in this industry. Sure. Typically, they have to generate an invoice, leave it on their doorstep, wait for them to call and say the check is ready, and then drive back down to pick it up. It ends up going way longer than net 30. Right. So cash flow is a real struggle with these businesses. And then even with scheduling and simple management tools, most of them were doing it on a piece of paper that they'd keep in their truck. So we saw a product market fit for the product we had developed, and we were controlling ourselves internally. And decided to develop Lawn Buddy Pro, which is a software as a service solution for them to manage their business and better grow it. And so we took it from there and built it, and then we saw tremendous growth from that to where now we're in 50 states and we're about to hit 5,000 users on the platform today.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you know how many businesses that is, or the pro side?
That's the businesses that are using it.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay, wow.
When I say users, I should say businesses that are utilizing it.
And then, so what about the individual side? Do you have a...
The individual side ranges. A lot of them have employees. Some of them are sole operators. But the accounts is really what we track.
Wow, that's incredible. That's really cool. So did you, you said Phil came on as the technical guy. So when you first had it, do you know how to code or anything like that? Or did your wife, or how did that go?
My wife knew C+, and C#. And I had just a limited understanding of coding. In the Marine Corps, I always leveraged technology for solutions. Actually received awards for it. But I had no in-depth experience on how to code or anything like that. So
that can be tough. So how did you find Phil? Did you through mutual friends, or how did that come about?
It was actually happenstance or fate, I guess you could say. E2E was starting around that time, and they had a mentor lunch.
Okay.
Neither of us knew what it was or why we were there, but we both found ourselves in a back corner.
Sure.
And with several other entrepreneurs, actually, it's interesting. Chris Callan was there. He had started Grit, if you're familiar with that company, and then Miguel Johns, who did KingFit, Trevor Krotz with Buddy Brands, and then Phil was at the table as well and kind of explained the product. And I said, I'm looking for a developer, and at the time I was looking to just contract it out. But after sitting down and doing some negotiations with Phil, our personalities really meshed. I'm kind of the optimist, and he's more of the realist, kind of the yin and yang type of a deal.
I think that's necessary.
Yep, and then we just took it and ran with it.
Nice. And how did when you first went in with the, how full blown was the idea at that point? Was it just like, okay? And also, did you describe it as Uber for lawn care? Because I know a lot of different articles and stuff have kind of described it like that, and it's a good way to wrap your head around what it is. But how developed was the idea at that point?
Yeah, so when I met Phil, so the idea at that point, we had won some competitions through the university.
Okay.
So it was fairly developed as far as business model.
Sure.
And how we would gain traction, but it wasn't developed as far as technology.
Gotcha.
And customer validation. I had actually done customer validation, I mentioned, in 2015. I was the technology, kind of the ultimate middleman. Homeowner would call in or contact me on a very horrible website that I built. And then I would reach out to the lawn care providers that were in my network and kind of fill their pain.
You were the technology.
Yeah, exactly. And I would feel their pain. I'm a huge believer in the bottom-up method, to where I need to know exactly what my customers are struggling with, to the point to where I was out mowing with them several times, or I was mowing clients' properties, just so I know what their struggles are, so that we build an actual solution and not just a Band-Aid. And so at that point in time, when Phil came on, we had that done, and then Phil came in and helped pioneer the technology.
Nice. Was there any worry? So you enter these competitions, but don't necessarily have the technology, just this website that you made. Is there any worry that, okay, somebody's going to be like, oh, I like that idea, I'm going to go make the technology real quick before they do? Like, is there any fear of that, or?
So initially there was. I mean, there always is, especially if it's your first time doing it. But one thing that I realized early on is that I'm a firm believer that there's no such thing as a novel idea. So you're not the first person to think of it or try to do it, probably. It's all about execution. And so hiding an idea is almost worse than not, right? So customer validation is finding your potential customers that would pay you. If you don't have a paying customer, you don't have a business.
Yeah.
And so that's where we went through in those competitions, where we were building those base building blocks to start what we have now, to where if you had asked me that question 3 or 4 years ago, I would have probably said, especially before the competitions, that it was a secret and have you sign an NDA.
Right.
But now it's you can try.
Sure. So. Yeah. I think in college, like being, especially in engineering school, I think everybody thinks they have that idea, or they see something that comes out, like example for Uber. It's like, I thought about that 5 years ago. It's like, okay, but it's an idea versus execution. And so that's something I wanted to bring up too, is just your thoughts on what's the value of an idea versus something else. So.
Yeah, we would get messages all the time on that saying, I thought of this 5 years ago. It's fantastic. Right. You didn't do anything with it. There's a big difference between having an idea and executing an idea. And that's where we kind of shined, was the proving that we could execute on a plan and an idea. And the Uber for lawn care, to back up and answer that original question too, I actually hated it. But people kept drawing that connection. And so it kind of stuck, especially in the beginning, for the homeowner facing side, as far as they could connect with a homeowner and have lawn care at the press of a button.
Sure.
To where even now people still will reference that aspect. It's not necessarily what we do. It's a very small aspect of our technology, but we're not the ones cutting the grass. We're not the ones that the homeowners are not our customers. The lawn care companies are. So.
Yeah, that's not something that I would necessarily think about off the top of my head. But I think when I first heard about Lawn Buddy was a couple years ago now, first time probably when you won that competition, honestly. And I was just like, that's a cool idea, but like, I don't know if I would use it, but just seeing what it's grown into and seeing it's not just, like you said, for the customer, but for the back end and how that's all, it's pretty cool. Yeah,
and that's our sole focus now, to where homeowners, we try to limit our interaction with them to just support the lawn care companies. And when we kind of pivoted to that, we called it the Robin Hood effect, right? So Robin Hood stole from the rich to give to the poor.
Right.
And typically in a gig economy, you have the technology company utilizing a contractor to generate profits, where we put we essentially give that contractor the same tools the technology company has to grow their business.
Right.
And then we take that investment in being their technology partner and then benefiting from their success.
Sure. So getting to that, is that how you guys make money? You just take X% of each transaction? Okay.
Yeah, so we get paid when our customers get paid. And we also have a paid subscription one where they can unlock a little bit more tools. But primarily our customer base is in what we call Lawn Buddy Lite, which is the transaction-based model.
Okay. Awesome. So did you jump straight into it once you met Phil? Did you jump straight in? Was this what you're doing full time, or what was that process like?
By the time I met Phil, I had jumped in full time. I was still attending a couple classes at Wichita State. That kind of fizzled out, but I had left my job maybe a month or two prior to meeting Phil, and decided to focus on that full time, just based off the positive feedback from the idea, and then also generating income from business model competitions and stuff like that. So decided to make the leap. It was I was fortunate in the fact that my wife helped support that, and obviously had a very good job and benefits. So I was very blessed in that aspect.
Yeah, that's helpful. That's really cool. So from that lunch where you met Phil, there's a lot of mentors there, a lot of other Wichita-based entrepreneurs. How has that helped? Do you think the outcome would have been different here had you not had kind of that support group, or was there a support group moving forward from that group?
So there was, you could say there was a support group from that group of people that were at the table. I mean, Trevor Kratz has been a personal friend of mine and peer and mentor for a long time. If he listens to this and hear that I call him a mentor, I'm never going to hear the end of it. But so from that table, there was a little bit of a support system built in. But from the university is really where we received a lot of our support. And then when the university partnered with E2E for launch prep, we were the first inaugural company through that. So we received support there. But as far as the city or anything else like that, no, not really.
Right.
Even to this day, the city doesn't necessarily support or know that we exist. But,
right.
The county does, Sedgwick County. They supported us. And then we got several mentors from connections made in the city. So Mark Tornline with the Wichita State University in their entrepreneurship department, and Nancy Kirstenbrock, they were there since day one, helping us go through modeling and business model canvas. And then that grew to broaden our network with other connections, and then through the E2E WSU partnership and their mentor pool there. And now I'm in a program called Pipeline, which is kind of a national deal. They focus on the Midwest, but with those connections, it's just mind-blowing, the amount of talent that is in one room. So
that's awesome. Is there a specific part of the business that they help with as part of like Pipeline, for example?
Yeah, so Pipeline focuses on the CEO, specifically the executives and the founder, and helping to go through all the different strategies. And it's really kind of like, it's a family, but it's a family that educates you in how to be a successful entrepreneur and also navigate lessons learned or failure.
Right. Yeah, you can learn a lot.
And that's fantastic. The support and the network and the knowledge that comes through that program is nothing like I've ever seen before.
Sure. That's really cool. Was it difficult when you brought Phil on, for example, and you obviously don't have to get into details or anything, but is it difficult to try to figure out, instead of contracting it out, to bring him in, trying to split up the equity in the company or however that works?
Yeah, so luckily it wasn't necessarily that difficult. We met several times before he came on board, and several times just to make sure it was the right fit. And like I said, our personalities meshed really well.
Yeah.
And we were able to work together. I mean, we've navigated over 3 years together now to where we are today. Through ups and downs. It's really easy to focus on the ups, but no one necessarily sees the downs. And when you're in the office or on weekends putting in the work, and the blood, sweat, and tears that go into it. But we've been able to navigate that pretty well. That's not the same case for everyone. I definitely think that based off of our area, finding a CTO or a technical co-founder that has a background in the industry will be hard to find for that level. It doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means that there'll be a little bit more due diligence on that founder's part if they don't have a technical background.
Sure. So were you set out to find somebody with that experience? Like when you ran across him, were you, I guess you kind of said it, contract somebody out, but just looking for somebody that could code it for you then?
Yeah, so at the time I was looking for someone to help come in and make an MVP, and then I would find that CTO to come in to help us grow.
That makes sense.
Where I was fortunate is that he was one of the only people who he had his own business. He was doing it was just himself.
Sure.
Everything kind of aligned to where best possible scenario occurred for us, and he was able to join the team.
Cool. Very cool. Was it so kind of investment type side of things? Did you have many investors up front, or how did that process go?
Yeah, so we had a core group of investors come on really right before we launched the MVP in the wintertime. Some great folks like Jeff Turner, Aaron Bastian, Jason Cox, and Ben Hutton were some of those first folks in that came to help support us in our idea. Which for helping move Wichita along, I mean, that's
and they're all Wichita based, right?
They're all of our investors, including new ones, are all Wichita
Very
based.
Cool.
So they've helped kind of spur along technology right here in Wichita, Kansas, which not a lot of people can say.
That's really cool.
Has actually gained traction. Someone who, it's very fortunate that they stepped up at the time that they did. So.
Yeah, I'm glad to see there's groups, I mean, like that group and like you even starting Lawn Buddy here, to see pushing Wichita forward. Because a lot of people move away from Wichita to do something cool like this, but there's a lot of people like you guys trying to do it right here. Yeah,
and Wichita, when I look at it, it's almost like its own company, right? So it's going to go through ups and downs. We're going to purge talent, but hopefully there's going to be some ups for us where we can retain it. And continue to grow the environment. And we're just here to keep our heads down and hopefully be value added to our city to where we can help be a little part in pushing it forward. Yeah, for sure. How has Lawn Buddy evolved besides from your website that you made to what it is today? Are there anything specific or specific lessons learned? Yeah, so from the horrible GoDaddy website that I built in 2015, it was we've evolved a lot. So we went from just being a single app on iOS and Android to where now we have 4 apps on iOS and Android. We have a web portal for the providers to run their businesses, to where it's really evolved to a high technology company in the SaaS arena. I mean, we won top 125 companies in the world by Startup Grind, which is a Google company.
That's incredible.
And that was from right here in Wichita, in the world. So that's a huge recognition for us and something that we're really proud of. And that's all due to this team that we have here. As far as evolving employees, it went from Phil and I in a dungy attic to now we have about 6 employees. And almost over 8 contractors working for the company full time. So we're generating jobs right here in Wichita for Lawn Buddy. But not only that, the providers that have used our technology since the beginning are now hiring employees because they've 2 to 3x their business year over year. So huge value add for our community there, and that's kind of the evolution of Lawn Buddy.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things Lawn Buddy can do is like automatically calculates the lawn based on where the driveway is, or like how much the driveway takes up and that kind of thing, automatic pricing. Was that something that kind of came later, or was that there from the beginning?
So that was actually there from the beginning.
That's cool.
So the automatic pricing came in to where we pulled data from a couple different records to give a virtual estimate almost instantly. Actually, it is instantly unless it falls outside of some of our parameters, and then it kicks it out to a manual review. But that was in there since the beginning. What kind of evolved from that was being able to give the lawn care companies the ability to add their own prices, and then have advanced estimating tools like what we had, to where they have a satellite image that they can go and trace projects they're doing, whether they're installing a new garden or concrete or putting mulch in. We give them tools so that they can electronically calculate that and then send it to their customers.
Very cool. And how do you market this? I know, because, I mean, it's like you said, even in Wichita, not a lot of people even know about Lawn Buddy necessarily compared to the population and everything. How do you market that? I've been seeing stuff on Facebook and some other things, which is really awesome, but how have you been handling that?
Yeah, so it's all strictly digital now. So social media is a huge one for us. Google AdWords is huge for us as well. But then word of mouth. I always say that our best salesperson is a happy customer. So that one happy customer is going to talk to their friends about their experience with our software and how it helped their companies. And that's been one of the ways that we've been able to grow. But our digital footprint is really kind of where we focus for marketing. A lot of these men and women are living inside of forums or on Facebook groups. And with some of the tools, we can really refine our audience to where we can get our ads to display to the right folks. Unless they follow our page, then you're going to see all of our content. But that's primarily how we get the word out.
Do you have a specific person or group of people that just focuses on that type of advertising marketing? Yeah,
so our marketing and advertising is all actually outsourced by some of our contractors that we have. We have a gal in San Francisco named Laura Jordan, who does a fantastic job for us as far as ad placement and then strategic branding, making sure that everything's the same and delivering to the right audience. And then Jordan Colcord, who sits right outside here, she does all of our content creation as far as design. And then we utilize a number of different agencies here in town for video. Or if you've seen the latest one, it's me with a GoPro holding it up. As we have Madison Johnson, who is a contractor for us, who does all of our interviews. And
just saw one of those today.
So it's a mixture of a lot of stuff, but really we take the content, turn it over to Laura, and then she just knocks it out of the park.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, it's smart. I mean, you guys are tech companies, so why go outside of the digital realm when you can reach everyone you need to? And so what is your goal? Do you have a goal this year or long term, like number of users, that type of thing?
Yeah, so to give you an idea, last year we had a goal of reaching 900 users on the platform in 3 years. We did a little bit better than that. So now going forward, I've had a goal for a while to where I would love to have 15,000 users on the platform by the end of the year.
Sure.
And I think we're on the right track for that.
Awesome.
Especially with the number of downloads and activity on the platform, and putting strategy behind that to have sustainable growth. One thing I think a lot of people get caught up in is it's really exciting to see growth, but it's also a two-sided two-edged sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
To where the greatest way that you can, or the fastest way you can fail is through rapid growth.
Yeah.
And so having that strategy behind it, make sure that we're growing sustainably, and we don't kind of put the cart before the horse is something that we're really focusing on.
Makes sense. Long term, is this something you see yourself being a part of, or this team, probably this team in the future, or is it something that you would look to sell down the road, or is there any thought of that?
Yeah, so when you look at technology companies, it's really, if you were to ask me this question and then 5 years from now I sit down and listen to my answer, it'll probably be different. But we are going to run this company like we're going to have it forever, but you're always prepared for opportunity, so that you can continue to provide value to your customers. And so we have Lawn Buddy, and if you go back through any of my old interviews, this is kind of the proving ground for us to prove that this model is sustainable to move into other industries. And that's something that we're actively not pursuing, but we have on the table for expansion in the future. So we're here. Our team will get bigger, but we won't leave Wichita.
Yeah. So. Awesome. That's good to hear. We're glad to have you. So, what are the challenges of that you've experienced starting a startup, or specifically starting a startup in Wichita? What are some of those roadblocks?
Yeah. So, starting a business in Wichita, is probably, one of the easier things that if there's someone out there listening who's interested in starting a business to do, simply because the cost of living here is really low, so you can de-risk it a lot.
About as cheap as you can get, besides maybe Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming's more expensive actually.
Really?
So when you look at it and you de-risk your time investment, your financial investment into it, you have almost the perfect environment to do that. Depending on the business that you're trying to start. So starting a business here for us was relatively easy, and actually accelerated some of the things that we were doing, as far as me seeing when Steven Werner was sitting in class and I had this idea, and then being surrounded by the community to support it, to make sure that we could turn it into a reality. That was fantastic, and that support system is still here. I mean, there's so many different programs that go on to help with entrepreneurs or up-and-coming business owners. But as far as scaling a company from here, it's been difficult at times. For instance, when we launched the first bit of technology, it was not well received, but that's not Wichita's fault. That's the fact that name an app that has started in Wichita in the last 10 years. And so your early adopters are going to be a lot less in our market versus like an Austin or someone who sees a lot of new technology coming out. But we're happy that we get to be pioneers on this path to blaze a trail for others to come, because now Wichita is still one of our largest markets as far as the brand loyalty and people continuously using the platform and new provider signups. So that's been fantastic. So
very cool. Is there any insurance on either side, whether it's the user side or the business side of it?
For Lawn Buddy
for the people that use the app on either the business side or the customer side?
Yeah, so Lawn Buddy obviously has business insurance.
Right.
We're at the point, we've been at the point for a long time that we need that. We actually offer insurance through the platform. We don't, but we did a strategic partnership with IMA, and we're actually working with another kind of supplemental insurance company as well to provide that to our users. They're not required to use our insurance. We just provide it as an easy pass-through for them to get better rates or get in contact with someone who is. But as far as requirements, we don't have requirements for them. We just expect them to be professional business owners and run their business like they should.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I said, we don't go out and cut the grass. We're just providing software to the folks that do.
Sure. So of the 6 or so people that are here in Wichita, what are those roles? How does that kind of broken out?
Yeah, so it's equally divided between sales and customer support and development. So we're really tech heavy. So we have 3 full-time developers. One is primarily web, the other is Android and then iOS. And then we have 3 sales and customer support roles that are here as well. And then we have the contractors that fill out our legal team, our sales team, and all the marketing and stuff. So.
Okay. And what does your day-to-day look like? Are you here in the office a lot? Are you traveling to kind of spread the word? How does that look?
I'm here in the office a lot.
Yeah.
So one of the beauties of this technology is that I don't have to travel a lot. I still do travel, but not near as much as what people think I do. But the day-to-day for me ranges really. So a lot of times I feel like I'm a firefighter running around putting out fires. But a lot is building those relationships with investors and then steering the ship in the right direction, making sure that we're on a path for success and that everything is moving in a straight line. It's a lot like I'm sure you experience in your role of you have a project. You need to make sure that everything is happening on time and in an efficient manner. Because if you don't have that, then you're just going to spin in circles and nothing's ever going to get done. Yeah,
for sure.
And so that's kind of what makes up the day-to-day.
So I know it doesn't snow a ton in Wichita, so how much of the percentage of Lawn Buddy is like snow? Do you have a lot of business up north?
Yeah, so one of the beauties of switching to that Lawn Buddy Pro platform is that we allow them to list the services they offer to where we don't really have to do that guesswork.
Nice.
And we don't have to necessarily offer it to where they just manage it through the platform and with their customers, and we provide them that audience or the software solutions to bill and market that. So
nice. How much of success is hard work and hustle and kind of the grind versus luck, would you say?
I think the lucky or lucky people are well prepared. And so the kind of the hard work that gets put in is a lot of it. Yeah. Right. The kind of what I said earlier of putting your head down, getting the work done and riding it out through the ups and downs. It's real easy to jump out during the downs. But if you don't ride that and go back up, you're going to miss the opportunity. So you just have to be present for opportunity to knock, for that luck to happen. Because if you're not there, then you can't answer the door.
Yep. So what advice would you have for an aspiring entrepreneur in Wichita or somebody, for example, with an app idea? What would be kind of the first steps you would tell them to do?
Yeah, so one, don't be afraid to tell people about it. Nobody's going to steal your idea. Go talk to people about it and get your customer validation. That's the number one thing is find your customer. Talk to 100 people that would tell you yes, they would pay for that. And then start building out your plan. Business model canvassing. If anyone's familiar with that or not, it's a fantastic first step to go through how your business would work, and then that leads into your actual business model. But I would say don't be afraid of failure because failure, in my opinion, is just learning opportunities for you to refine what you're doing. I've had a lot of failure, but I've also had a lot of opportunities to learn and refine what we do and what our craft is, and just hang tough. That's something that we were told a lot growing up, especially in Wyoming, is hang in there and enjoy the ride. But seek out resources. The other thing is that no hero is going to show up to help you with your business. You need to put the work in. You need to show up. You need to seek those mentors. Oftentimes, a lot of people look at me and say, oh, I was just lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. What they don't see is me knocking on those doors constantly, showing up and just sitting in people's offices and waiting until someone would see me, and being persistently annoying to get what I needed. And so do not think that someone is just going to show up and help you with your problems. You've got to roll your sleeves up, get dirty, and put the work in. Otherwise, you'll just be the person 5 years from now who said, I had that idea.
Right. I love that. Do you have anything else to touch on with Lawn Buddy?
That we
didn't touch on?
We're continuously growing and refining the technology. Every day we get new requests for features in. We're in the midst of some pretty big partnerships with some large names in the technology space that we're really excited about those integrations and partnerships. And it's something that's going to be really beneficial for our company, but also Wichita, putting that on the map. And so like I said, if we sat down and looked at this a year from now, there would be a lot of things that are different.
Yeah.
So I hope we can continue to
Oh,
have
absolutely.
this
I'd
conversation.
love to, continue to do this every year. Or
Yep.
depending how fast it's growing, maybe more often than that. It's
Yep.
cool. It's going to be cool to share that story with everybody. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, and if anyone ever needs any help with, if they have a question about starting a business or finding a CTO, Phil and I love helping other business owners and other people who are interested in becoming business owners or entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So feel free to reach out to us, visit our website, and just give us a call and ask for Phil or Steve, and we'd be more than happy to help.
Awesome. I like that. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit. These are kind of some general questions I ask everybody that I've picked and choose from podcasts I listen to. So what is something you often recommend to people, whether that's a book, a podcast, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm a little bit different. So I think that no matter what book you read, no matter what podcast you listen to, your journey is unique in itself, and that it's not going to be the perfect fit. So there's no one book cure all. Yeah. But some of my favorite, I do read a lot of books. Yeah. And we'll listen to a lot of books. Audible is
I love Audible.
Yeah. So one of the ones that I'm going through now that I love is Extreme Ownership.
Oh, it's incredible. Jocko,
Yep. And so that's a fantastic book. I always mispronounce his name, but Everything by Simon Sinek or Sinek. Leaders Eat Last specifically is a fantastic book. And a lot of early on, Guy Kawasaki. I read a lot of Guy Kawasaki early on. Lean Startup is a fantastic book.
Somebody else just recommended that too that I was listening to. I need to read that one.
Yep. And Business Model Generation is a fantastic book as you're going through business modeling or business model canvassing and trying to figure out how you get the company to work. Sure. But yeah, those are, as far as business books, those are
awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely link all those up so people have the resources. And you're in pretty good company. I saw that Simon Sinek was on the Dose of Leadership podcast as well, like in 2015 or something. Okay, I got you. So it was a while ago, but you're in the same company, so you got that going for you. Do you have a favorite failure in any aspect of your life?
Oh man, if you ask my wife, there's a lot. But a favorite failure that I had, specifically with Lawn Buddy, and the learning experience that came with it was the low sign up rate initially in the Wichita market, and then forcing us to kind of relook at everything and do that root cause analysis. That was one of my favorite failures. When that brass business failed, that was from a time and garage space aspect, that was a great failure as well. But I'll open up about this. One of my,
please do.
I guess one of the failures that still bugs me, but is one of the greatest failures is I hate not finishing what I start, and that happened to be the degree at Wichita State. But luckily it turned into this. So I guess if I really boil it down, that would be my favorite failure is that I failed at college. Yeah. I didn't fail. I stopped.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Is that something you'd ever want to go back and finish just to kind of wrap up that part of your life?
Yeah. That, or if anyone at the university is listening, an honorary degree would be fantastic.
I think in a couple of years at this rate, that's in the cards.
I knew it was time to leave when my wife's boss was in an executive MBA program at Wichita State, and they were sick and tired about hearing about me and the business that they were using it for case studies. I'll never forget, Sonia came home and she said, my boss came up to me today and she said, if I hear about your husband one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. And that was a good indicator that it was time to time to
You're on the right track. That you mentioned the initial kind of low signups. Do you recall the root cause of that, and kind of how did you overcome that?
Yeah, really, it came down to our audience and being here in Wichita, right? Not a lot of people are willing to trust a brand new piece of technology. They'd much rather have it be fleshed out for a year or two. Right. So when I say early adopters, that's what I mean, or people who are willing to take a bet on something new. To where if we looked into some of the other faster growing markets at that time, like Texas was really big for us, and we just weren't. We'd moved into those markets too late in the season, right? And so that was one of the main drivers behind it, and something we really had to sit back and look at. as far as an issue here.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to prove that next season. Typically, early adopters are in that first year, and then you get a bigger chunk that second year.
Yeah,
and
that
second
curve,
year, we had a lot of users here. They realized that we weren't just some college kids building a company, that it was actually working. So that was kind of around that.
Nice.
Those low signups that first time.
Is there any other competition in this space that kind of does what you do?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, there's no such thing as a novel idea. So there's someone who does some aspect of what you're doing.
Yeah.
We have a handful of them in this space that do like a service-based industry.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always product market fit in the market. What we focus on is providing actual value and being veteran-owned in the Midwest, and people who have been there and done it really helps instead of someone sitting on the East Coast or the West Coast who's never touched a lawn care, a mower or a piece of equipment in their life, but really focus on providing value and not just perceived value to our customers is how we've been successful. I mean, we see that today we onboarded 1,000 new companies on the platform last month alone.
Incredible.
So the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah. That's a good point that I didn't think about, though. I haven't really traveled much East Coast or West Coast, a little bit Pacific Northwest, but the lawn aspect, a lot of people don't mow necessarily, just the way it's set up in the different cities and things. So Midwest is kind of ideal for something like this to pop up. So.
Yeah, and so in our industry too, so when you look at like Angies List or Home Advisor, they're obviously going through a bit of a difficult time now with some suits, but it really generated a bad rep for technology in the industry to where users are very skeptical of technology companies. That's one of our biggest uphill battles that we have, is getting folks to trust us originally too. And just because of the way that they were treated by technology companies. So I always tell the users that we're installing integrity back into the technology industry.
Nice.
And just being there to be their partners and help them grow instead of trying to extract every penny from them that they possibly have. And that's made all the difference. So showing them that we do what we say and that we're there to help instead of take their money helps you build a loyal customer base. So
absolutely. Has there been any struggle? So you're a tech-based company, you primarily advertise on internet and technology. Has there been an issue getting to that older population that is probably the ones that really need their lawn care mode for them? Has there been any issue with that, or?
So originally, when we were focused on the customers, there was. You're not going to get someone who's older, a baby boomer, to download an app to connect with a hooligan to come mow their lawn. But the way we built the technology now is that for those customers, there's more than just an app that they can pay or connect with their company with. They have email, they have the internet, but then worst case scenario, they can print out the invoice and mail it in from our system. So when we made that pivot to focus on the companies, we kept that in mind, knowing that some of those older clients who want to connect with them were there. And even when if older clients call in who need their lawn mowed and they can't do it anymore, or not even older, who just can't mow their lawn, we provide a connection for them with local recommendations or anything to use our platform.
Very cool. What is your definition of success?
Someone asked me this about a year ago, but I would say that my definition of success today is seeing my son smile, and knowing that I work every day to provide a better future for my family, for him, but not only that, but for everyone who works with us, right? Because I'm not the only one who has kids here, but
that's what it's about,
providing them an opportunity to have a sustainable job and high growth opportunities. That's how I define success today, and awesome. I think we're pretty darn close.
Yeah, so definitely. Do you have a life motto you live by, or what is some of the best advice you've received?
Yeah, so life motto. I always revert back to the Marine Corps, right? Honor, courage, commitment. But integrity is a big one to me. So doing what you say you will and showing up is a big one, and admitting when you're wrong.
Sure.
I think today, especially in our society, it's really easy to pass the buck, to not own up for what you've done. And if you really want slapped in the face with that, lead read that book that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's pretty strong in that one.
Yep. So that's kind of what I live by is every day trying to live a life that would make your family proud. So
good. Yeah, I think that's really important too. As the CEO of a company that's pretty small still in compared to where it's going, to have those foundations, integrity and ownership and everything. That's awesome. That's good to hear.
And then you said advice, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Some of the best advice that I've been told or I've read is fail fast and fail often. Like I said, those are learning opportunities, but they also are ways that you can continue to build yourself and your team. So
awesome. What is a habit that you've developed over the past couple of years that's most improved your life?
Oh man, a habit that I've performed, trying to get to no matter what, especially with a newborn, is trying to get to work on time, make sure I'm there and have a full focus on what needs to be done during the day. That's something I've had for a long time, but just something that you have to work at. It's really easy to get complacent, right? But building that skill and honing it over time is just be there. Like I said, you can't capitalize on opportunity if you're not there. So
definitely. So you've been in Wichita for a few years now. Is your wife from around here, or is she new to the area as well?
My wife has a more interesting story than I do. She should be on the podcast, quite frankly. She was born in Dubai.
Oh, wow.
And then she got a scholarship and came to the U.S. When she was 16 after she graduated high school. And then bounced all over the place. And then somehow ended up at the same mine in Wyoming I was working at. And
there's that fade again.
Yeah. But no, yeah. So she's not from here.
Cool. Okay. So I was leading into, what is your favorite part of Wichita?
Man, Wichita is like a big town with small town feel, right? Yep. So everybody knows everybody. It feels like everybody's really nice, and it's continuing to grow. So that's my favorite thing about Wichita is the people, the environment, and the activities and the restaurants. I have lived here for 4 years and I have maybe dented a quarter of the restaurants that are here.
Right. I don't know if you're familiar. There's a food blog here in town. It's called Wichita by EB.
Yep. Yeah. I read it all the time.
So I read it quite a bit. Anytime we're about to go out to eat, I check that to see what the most recent place is. But he recently just completed every restaurant in Wichita.
Oh,
it took him like 8 years, and he eats out like every day.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard to get them all off the list.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There's some really good ones though. And
have you found a hidden gem that you really like that people might not know about?
Lola's, which is it is hands down my favorite restaurant in the Midwest. It's over on 21st and 96, hidden away back in the Collective complex. But that is my favorite. Micah Bay is a good friend of mine, but he is a madman in the kitchen. So if you're
I'll make sure to link that up too so people can check that out. Is there anything you wish Wichita had that it doesn't, or something that you'd improve about Wichita if you could?
Oh man, I wish it had mountains.
That'll be the next venture.
Exactly. We've got the water park now. Someone just needs to build fake mountains for Steven. There's everything that I need is here. We hardly go anywhere else. We like to eat really clean, so we frequent Whole Foods a lot. The staff tease me a lot about that, but that's right here. I wish it had a Topgolf.
Yeah,
that would be
I
nice.
keep hearing about a different Topgolf that's coming, but I don't know if you've heard anything about that. But
really, there's nothing that I can think of off the top of my head that would be like the next big thing. I think people keep coming up with great ideas all the time for new physical structures of things to do in Wichita. So I'm a big outdoorsman, so I love to go fishing and just get outdoors. Luckily. Well, I wish there was more public land to go out and do that instead of private. When I moved here, I was like, yeah, Wichita, Kansas will be great because it's
wide
the
open,
Midwest.
nothing.
So yeah, there's nothing. I'll be able to go hunting and fishing, and then I got here and it was like, oh, everything's private except for El Dorado.
Yep.
I've been to Afghanistan, and I was never more afraid for my life than hunting deer in El Dorado.
That's hilarious.
But no, other than that, that's it, man. Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, last one. What does Wichita mean to you?
Wichita, man, that's a great question. Wichita just feels like home. It's somewhere where we started our family, started a business. I've created great friendships and business partners out of it. So Phil's not only a business partner, but a great friend of mine. Same with Jordan. Very intertwined with them in this community, and a place where we're raising our son and growing our business. So that's kind of what Wichita means to me.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate it, Steven, and I'll link
worries.
everything
Thank
up. Is there where should people find you? Just Lawn Buddy?
Yeah, you can go to lawnbuddy.com, or feel free to send me an email. Here's my challenge for your listeners.
Yeah,
I
please
say
do.
this in every single one of my interviews or podcasts, but if anyone has any questions, they can email me at steven@lawnbuddy.com, and that's Steven with a V and not a PH. But nobody has ever emailed me, so that's their challenge. You can
see if anyone listens to the end of this.
Yeah.
All right, man, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Have a good one. Thank you to everyone who stuck it out and listened to this episode of the Wichita Life podcast. Thanks to the local Wichita band, The Caves, for use of their song. You can find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at wichitalifeict.com. If you have any comments or recommendations for our podcast, feel free to contact us at wichitalifeict@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, hasta luego.